Hey, welcome to School Night TV number 14, and that means we're almost out of junior high. Not quite. I think junior high you turn 15 and then you turn 16. I was in the junior high system, so it was 7th grade through ninth grade, which has nothing to do with this. Although I am going to use an example to get into my topic, and that's the example of little kids. There's sort of that cliche when a little kid loses their teddy bear, and they say, the parents like, well, I'll buy you a new one, and the kid's like, it's not the same. It's just not the same. And you see that in cartoons. You see that in just about. I mean, it's such a cliche. You see it in everything, and there's some truth to it, though. And little kids. I don't like the way people put little kids on a pedestal. Like they only speak the truth. What I like about kids is they only speak the truth. Because I mean, that is true to a large degree. Um, but I think kids are in this kind of flow of life, and they do, they don't realize. Here I am going into it. Kids speak the truth. They don't realize the truth is speaking. But I am kind of saying that right now because when kids say that it's not the same, they're right. Even if it's the exact same teddy bear, they're right. And I had my own little experience with that a few months ago. This is my favorite hat, and I have to clarify too that I'm not a huge Raiders fan. I'd say they're my favorite team in the AFC, but I wear the Raiders hat, and I've been wearing it the last number of years all the time because I just kind of like what it represents. I like the aesthetic. It's LA Raiders, so it's vintage. Um, and But people just assume I'm this big Raiders fan, so there's this thing I have to do out in society where I don't want to have to explain why I wear it, so I just pretend to be a big Raiders fan, and I'm just like, yep. Unfortunately, I know enough about football to where I can have that conversation. Like, yeah, Derek Carr's leg injury. Sure glad they got beast mode this year. I can talk about the Raiders. Uh, you know, Rest in peace, Al Davis. But I wear it for reasons other than football. I have other favorite teams that are more important, that actually affect me emotionally in horrible ways. Not as much anymore. I feel like I've gotten a hold on that. But this is football season's over. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the idea of not forcing something. And in the same way that a little kid, will be like, it's not the same teddy bear, even though they buy the exact same one. I had that experience with this hat because this hat has gotten very worn. It's very gray. It was once black. Now it's very gray. And, I've worn it out in the sun. I've gone outside and sweating in the outdoors a lot in this thing, and it's gotten very worn. And I also sweat indoors, but that has nothing to do with my hat. That has not affected my hat. Um, and so I started to feel like a little weird. Like I was like, maybe I need a new hat, a new version of this hat, because I love this hat. And so I was like, I'm going to buy another identical Raiders hat. Los Angeles Raiders with the script font. You can find these on eBay. You can find this hat on eBay. And that didn't really necessitate a voice. Nothing ever does. But anyway, yeah. So I bought another hat, and it was identical to this. Everything about it was identical from online appearances. Looking at the eBay listing, it looked identical. And it came in the mail, and right away I kind of felt something was off. It's actually the one I got, the new one I got, is slightly higher quality. Like the actual material, the material is a little higher quality, and see, you have it right here, um, and cradling it like a football. Who needs a football when you got a hat? When you're wearing a hat and you're cradling a hat, nobody needs a football. But anyway, so I got it, and I was kind of like, okay, now I got like a nice pristine black hat. Black hat. That's a term that means like doing something nefarious. That's very black hat. But yeah, I got this, and then I tried it on, and I was like, oh my god, the cut is different. It doesn't fit right. Because this hat, the reason I love this hat so much beyond just the colors and all that is like it just fits me so perfectly. There's just this comfort I feel. It's my crown. And I don't know if now heavy is the head who wears the hat. No, it's probably nothing like a crown. Crowns look uncomfortable and unnecessary. They're gaudy. It's a very gaudy crown. But yeah, I got this new hat, and just right away I knew it wasn't going to be the same. It's not the same. Instead of telling my parent, my teddy bear is not going to be the same, I tell eBay it's not the same. I gave him a scathing review. Now, I actually haven't written an eBay review in years. I know you're supposed to do that, but I just forget and don't want to. But yeah, I got this hat, and like I even put a little, I've got my button here, and like I got my button with a similar symbol on it, Um, but it's just not the same. Like the fit is completely different, and let me just try it on right now because it's weird taking my headphones off and actually having to hear my voice in the room rather than in the headphones. But anyway, um, you can see I look like a fucking nerd. See, I look like a fucking nerd now. The fit's different. I don't, looking at it now, it doesn't look as bad as I thought, but I feel like a nerd. I see the difference. I feel the difference. If you can feel the difference, nothing will make it okay. But I'm going to do the rest of this episode like this. I'm just going to go full force. I used to wear my hat like that sometimes. Still kind of do with a little bit of a tilt. This is going too personal, but I remember in junior high, speaking of junior high, doing that just because all the kids were doing it. Suburban gangsters, pop punk guys too. It was like this weird combo of like suburban, like wigger type guys, and then pop punk. Very suburban though. I just said you were doing something. You were doing something special if you have your hat like that. It's a little tilted. But you tilt it to the right or the left. I was always I don't know. I don't know which way I tilted it. Probably whatever way I just tilted it, because I was just doing the natural thing. But this hat is not the same. And so what I did is because this part's like very like puffy, like it's like hard but puffy, if that makes any sense. Hard but puffy. And I remember the day I got it. I remember it was so long ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I buried it underneath a bunch of heavy books because I was like, I'm going to flatten this thing out so that it fits more like my old hat. But the thing is even this part, it's like a little bit longer. Like it goes down like under the ridges of my ears a little more in this uncomfortable way. It's just not the same. It's not the same, It's just not what I want out of a hat. And I wore it around when I first got it because, like I said, I flattened it. I tried to like press it under books for a week, and I thought it maybe fixed it. And I even went out one night. I went to a bar, and this friend of mine, like I felt like she was treating me differently because of it. But I realized it probably wasn't the hat. It was probably like I was probably anxious and uncomfortable because I was in this hat that I wanted to make work. I was trying to force it. Trying to force this hat to work, and so she probably wasn't even looking at the hat. She was probably just responding to this weird, anxious energy coming out of me because I was uncomfortable. Because it's like when you wear anything uncomfortable. Like I remember like being really out of shape and like all my clothes didn't fit right, or they would like hug my thighs or my like some weird part of me in a way that just kind of like ruined my comfort. Made me uncomfortable, and I feel like that impacts the way you interact with people and just the energy you're giving off, in the same way that just giving off anxious energy in generally gives the opposite effect of what you want, and then you start worrying about how to like dispel that anxious energy, so you make a YouTube video. No, wait, what? Anyway, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at this, I feel like it's hard to know which way I'm going. But now that I'm looking at this, like I don't feel like it's as bad as I thought it was, but it's still bad. It's still horrible. Still the worst thing in my life, this hat. No, but you don't force these things. Like I realized, that this hat didn't replace this hat. This hat's my hat, and I think I'm going to keep wearing this until it completely falls apart, and then I'll decide what to do with this one. This hat was just kind of a reminder. It's the teddy bear. It's the teddy bear on my head that I tried to force to be the same, and it's not the same. Just one of those little lessons, Sometimes it comes in the form of a hat. Sometimes it comes in the form of something else, more important or less important, or I don't know. But I got my coffee here. I don't know if I've ever showed this on here, but like this is blatantly a nutsack. Very blatantly a nutsack. It's where's the camera? See, I don't. It's hard to know like which angle to go. I'm looking at myself in the camera. It's very blatantly a nutsack, and whoever made this had to have known. There's even like a weird little like micro penis head or something on it. Blatantly a nutsack. That's what my tombstone's gonna say. Blatantly a nutsack. But yeah, on that note, I got a doctor's appointment. Speaking of nutsacks, I got a doctor's appointment, so I'm gonna end this. Don't force it.